US President Donald Trump on Friday announced an agreement on Hamas disarmament. He hailed it as a major milestone and claimed that Israel was very happy about it too.
Israel was very happy about it. Israel helped us. And they've been very good. They've been very good about it. Most people said that would be a deal that would be undoable.
However, it seems Israel doesn't share the same sentiment. Instead, since the announcement on Friday, it has sharply escalated airstrikes across Gaza, killing 28 people over the weekend. The deal calls for a complete halt to attacks and a phased Israeli withdrawal. Now, the latest strikes drew a sharp rebuke from Nikolai Ladinov, chief envoy for Trump's Board of Peace. Ladinov later arrived in Israel to meet the Israeli Prime Minister. Sources say that he also pressed the Israeli leader to halt ongoing strikes and assured Netanyahu that an Israeli withdrawal would only begin after Hamas fully disarms. Now, the rift marks the latest sign of growing friction between Trump and Netanyahu. The two leaders remain at loggerheads over Iran, with Israel skeptical of Trump's diplomatic push to end the war launched in late February. Netanyahu has also defied Washington by continuing strikes on alleged Hezbollah targets in Lebanon. Meanwhile, an Israeli official reaffirmed that troops will not withdraw from the current positions in Gaza, refusing to fall back to the original October 2025 ceasefire demarcation line. Hamas maintains that it will only disarm if Israel pulls back to those earlier boundaries. While Netanyahu remains silent, his political allies are openly tearing the plan apart. Security cabinet members Bezalel Smotrich and Oret Strok have urged a vote to scrap the Trump-backed deal. Amit Halevi, a lawmaker from Netanyahu's own Likud party, was even more blunt. This is what he said, I quote here, "You can wrap tomorrow's fish with this agreement. It has no meaning." Well, reports indicate that Netanyahu will not pull back from any territory before the upcoming Israeli elections, a gamble that risks deeply infuriating Donald Trump. All right, joining me from Jerusalem, Fleur Nahoum, who is Israel's Special Envoy for Trade and Innovation, and also the former Deputy Mayor for Jerusalem. Ma'am, welcome to WION. Pleasure speaking with you. Thanks so much for making time for us. Has Donald Trump lost control over the one ally that US has had all through the course of these last 5 months?
Well, absolutely not. Ultimately, the Board of Peace was established by President Trump in order to bring a new future for the Gaza Strip, a future which is not run by jihadi terrorists that are run by the Muslim Brotherhood and the Islamic Republic of Iran. He understands that Israel is facing threats from these terrorists. The threats have not gone away. They are still keeping armament. They are still trying to plot. They say it themselves. You don't have to go too far. Just look at what Hamas is saying over the last few days. They're saying, we are not going to be keeping or respecting this deal. Disarmament for them means something very different than disarmament for any normal person. They want to keep so-called defensive weapons, and defensive weapons includes Kalashnikovs and RPGs. I'm not sure when they became defensive. And so we know that we're dealing with scorpions who are jihadi, Muslim Brotherhood Islamists. You can't trust them. They lie, and they have one purpose in life, and that is to kill Israelis and kill Jews.
Ms. Nahoum, going by what you said, are you suggesting that Donald Trump does not understand what Hamas means when they say that they will disarm? Because Donald Trump hails it as a major milestone and even claimed that Israel was happy about it.
Of course, we're happy about it because we've come very far from the time where for 20 years, the entire international community allowed Hamas to build up tunnels, build up their armaments without asking them to do anything. Israel lived under rocket fire for 20 years from the Gaza Strip, and nobody said a word. So yes, we have come very far from that. President Trump brought back all the hostages, which is something amazing. He's managed to get buy-in from other regional partners for this disarmament and for the rebuilding of the Gaza Strip. But from that to seeing these terrorists that are hell-bent on the destruction of Israel actually handing over their arms, we still have a long way to go.
Ms. Nahoum, now if I may to just bring up certain facts from what we've seen just in the past 5 months, and I'm not even going further back to October 7, 2023, just in the past 5 months, whether it is Lebanon, whether it is Iran, or whether it is Gaza. We've seen the US administration repeatedly saying that we've achieved a deal, or in terms of Iran, they are about to achieve a deal, but the Iran deal hinges on the action and the violence in Lebanon, which still continues. The deal in Gaza, which was achieved in October last year, the bombing still continues. And as far as Iran is concerned, while Donald Trump has repeatedly said that we're close to making a deal, we heard the Israeli Prime Minister say that the war is not over. At each point, do you feel Israel's actions are jeopardizing the possibility of peace?
No. Jihadi terrorists don't want peace. Okay, that's what everybody has to understand. They've got big goals here. And they can use the excuse of Israel because it's a very convenient excuse to not comply with whatever deals they're signing. 60 days ago, President Trump had an MOU with the Islamic Republic of Iran. Israel was not involved in this MOU. And about 5 days into this so-called peace deal, or the MOU towards a peace deal, they started attacking ships on the Straits of Hormuz. What has that got to do with Israel? Again, we have now peace with the legitimate government of Lebanon. We have the beginning of a peace deal. The government of Lebanon have had enough of Jihadi Muslim Brotherhood, IRGC, arm fundamentalists called Hezbollah, of running and ruining their country. This Hezbollah has sent 17,000 rockets into Israel from October the 8th. Now, why is it that the government of Lebanon are quite happy to make peace with Israel and get rid of Hezbollah, and yet the IRGC is citing that as an excuse for breaking the MOU? It's all smokes and mirrors. A scorpion will remain a scorpion. Jihadi fundamentalists cannot all of a sudden become peacemakers. There is no such thing.
Yeah,
so the question is, at what point can you get rid of Hezbollah running a state within a state in Lebanon, like the Lebanese people, 70% of the Lebanese people want the end of Hezbollah? When do we do that? And when do we have a better chance at peace in the region?
Since
Only
you speak
when
of
the
peace,
Islamic fundamentalists are not running the show.
Allow me to come in there. When we speak of peace, when you talk about the numbers now, the death toll, we understand October 7th, 2023 was a horrible day for all Israelis, for the Jewish community at large. But since then till now, having said that, acknowledge that, when you see the deaths across Gaza, the deaths and displacements across Lebanon, do you feel that is justified for, and I'm not going to pit one life against the other, I'm simply looking at the figures, 1,500 at max from Israel compared with nearly 100,000 across the region and the over millions that have been displaced. How do you look at these figures?
Well, I think you're exaggerating the numbers, but it's not about the numbers, is it? Ultimately, if Hamas is using their own people as human shields, if Hamas has got 600 kilometers of tunnels and yet won't allow people to go and shelter in tunnels in a war that Israel didn't start, then who's responsible for those deaths? You tell me. If 70,000 people were killed in Gaza, and we know that 50,000 of those people are terrorists, are you still sad about terrorists who started this war, raped and murdered children and women, that they died? I'm not upset that terrorists are gone who started a brutal war with a brutal massacre. I'm very sad for the innocent people that those same terrorists are putting in the way. I'm sad for them. But they have their own leadership to blame, not Israel, who did not start this war, and by the way, has never started any wars. Why did Hezbollah start sending rockets Israel's way on the 8th of October? Why? We don't have any territorial dispute with Lebanon. Why did they start? Because these organizations are hell-bent on the destruction of my country, and we are not going to sit and let them do it. Suicidal, we are not.
And Ms. Nahoum, finally, and I'll only take your perspective on this. Why do you feel Israel's ratings as a country have plummeted to the lowest levels that we've seen in recent times?
Because there are very bad actors around the world who understand that they can't beat Israel or America militarily. You can't beat the second best army in the world with the best technology in the world. You can't beat a superpower like the United States.
But ma'am, these are global ratings.
Instead of beating us, if you let me finish my
go
answer.
ahead. These are global ratings.
They cannot beat us militarily, so then they have to delegitimize us. They have to come up with a narrative that makes us illegitimate as a country and as a people. This is very well funded by the Iranians and by the Qataris and by the Chinese and by lots of people who are indoctrinating the world against the Jews. We have a lot of experience with this. For 3,000 years, people have been indoctrinated to hate Jews and to say that we're not legitimate. And that's why we were kicked out of all the countries that we were exiled to from our indigenous home here in Israel. That's why we're back, and that's why we're defending our country.
I have heard your point, and you've completed your point too, ma'am. And at this point, we will leave it here. But as far as global ratings are concerned, to stretch ourselves to imagine that Iran or China and the other nations you mentioned have influenced.
We don't have to stretch ourselves. We don't have to strengthen ourselves. There is now research that shows that they have given billions of dollars. Yes, you're wrong. They've given billions of dollars to media. Yes, there is. You're wrong about this. Go and look up your research and do a bit better research before you ask me a question. You have nothing. You don't know anything about. No, you don't. If you look, no, I'm telling you that if you look at the research,
we've had a simple conversation. I let you speak.
$100 billion has been pumped. I'm not shouting. $100 billion. You're not letting me answer. You're asking me a question and I'm answering the question.
No, I would not ask you a question.
You're asking me a question. You're asking me a question, and I'm telling you that is now. You are wrong. You are wrong. There is many to prove. And next time you interview me, 100. You don't let me answer. $100 billion.
Then I let you answer. Don't just tell me I'm wrong. Prove I'm wrong.
I'm proving to you you're wrong.
Go ahead.
There's research. There's research by ISGAP that shows that $100 billion has been put in by the Qataris into American academic institutions to delegitimize Israel and delegitimize America. That is proven fact. Go and look at it, and maybe you'll come back with a different attitude the next time. Thank you very much.
Ma'am, I would still believe that Israel calls America their best friend, Donald Trump their best friend in the White House, but then those conversations between the two leaders, they suggest otherwise, given the kind of conversations they've had, which have even included expletives. All right, fine.
You don't know what's going on.
I'll request you to prove it next time. But then I would like to have this conversation.
Well, I can certainly prove funding to institutions in America to delegitimize Israel and to delegitimize America.
But that says more about America than it does about anyone else. But okay, we'll leave it there for now.
Maybe it does, but there is an indoctrination.
So we do agree at something there.
And apparently it got to your country as well.